Thank you very much for the opportunity and good morning to everybody. I'm going to speak from a policy perspective on the fourth industrial revolution and also with skills development and future of work in mind. So I'm going to look at the fourth industrial revolution and definitions of Industry 4.0 and what that actually means. Megatrends and the economy, strategic overview, some manufacturing trends related to the fourth industrial revolution, jobs and skills, solutions that we've been developed, and a quick preview of our digital industrial policy that we are busy developing in the department. So, as you've heard from previous speakers, the fourth industrial revolution is around humans. Previous industrial revolutions were about machines, development of technologies, focused on electricity, steam, electricity, and so on. Third industrial revolution on developing the internet. But the fourth industrial revolution is, I agree with the previous speaker, that it's not about technology. Or technologies, it's around humans and what role technology play in the life of humans. So according to the Human Development Report, they indicated on the agenda 8 areas that the world actually have to focus on. And we can, looking at the 8 elements that they've identified, we can look at capabilities and opportunities in the digital economy, and that's what the fourth industrial revolution is about. Some definition of Industry 4.0. There's so many definitions, and I think it's important that we have a common understanding what we are referring to. We are working with the Presidential Commission on 4IR, and we would like to standardize our references that we are making so that all of us, if we put reference in policy documents and in legislation, even in research, that we refer to the same things and we have a common understanding of what we are referring to. So in terms of Industry 4, the German Trade and Investment Institution define Industry 4 as connected embedded system production technologies and smart production processes to pave the way to a new technological age which will radically transform industry and production value chains and business models. So Industry 4.0 refers to the manufacturing side in the bigger Industry 4.0 reference. Deloitte also have a reference to smart connected manufacturing as Industry 4.0. We also picked up that there's other references for Industry 4.0, for example, industrial internet, connected enterprises, smart manufacturing, smart factories, manufacturing 4.0, Internet of everything, Internet of things for manufacturing. So all of those actually refer to Industry 4.0, which is in the manufacturing sector, the digital reference that is actually made. So if I look at mega trends for industry, we see that there's a boom in terms of smartphones, 2.5 billion smartphones in the world, and it's increasing. And the estimate is by 2050 there will be about 10 billion, almost 5 times the smartphones and tablets currently in the system. And then at the bottom it shows that in Africa there are more mobile phones than bank accounts. So it also shows where we towards what we are actually moving. This was some interesting trend to me. We saw in 2008 the top 10 companies in the US with their turnover and the dates that they were founded, and measuring the turnover again 10 years later in 2018, we see that Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon and Facebook are the top 5 US companies. So we can see where the trends are going in terms of companies. Some statistics about industrial robots, because I think robots play an important role in the manufacturing sector and skills and future of jobs. And people ask me, so will a robot replace me in a factory? Yes, a robot will do that. But what we will have to do is we will have to see how we can work in that same environment, because if you look at the benefits of introducing robots in your production line, it's more beneficial in terms of many things that we are measuring. Productivity, competitiveness, and a lot of other things. So I tend to agree with my previous DG who said at the World Economic Forum last week that we don't have to protect the jobs, we have to protect the person. So we will do our policies with the person in mind. So in terms of industrial robots, we see a 40 billion annual turnover in 2016 of industrial robots. The 5 top countries that purchase industrial robots: China, the US, Korea, Japan and Germany. And you know the size of their economy, so you can see the relevance of industrial robots compared to their economies. We see that the supply of robots are increasing more or less 80% per annum. And you can see where that trend is going. And the world stock is estimated to grow in 2020 to 3 billion. Of robots that will be operational in factories. So we as a department are planning to issue a report on industrial robots. We will issue the report soon, where we are going to start tracking the industrial robots in South Africa. Also another trend in terms of startups and small companies. We see that subsectors that are rapidly growing, and this information and data is from the US, is in sectors with life science, robotics, artificial intelligence and so on. We see in the top graph, the green line is the traditional technologies, and the bottom line is deep technologies, which refers to the new technologies of advanced manufacturing, blockchain, big data, analytics, and so on. The bottom graph also just confirms the growth of the startups versus the traditional technology at the bottom. If we look at the economy, our department did some research in the retail sector and retail sales, And what we are seeing is if we measure manufacturing output versus retail sales, you will see at the bottom, the grey line is manufacturing, which is quite flat, and we see exponential growth in retail sales. And what that means is that we are not accumulating new capital, which is a big concern. And we see a lot of consumption happening in terms of goods. And that means that not only is it in the local market, we also see in terms of imports that there's exponential growth in terms of imports with your e-commerce and goods that are being imported from other countries. And what that means for us is that South Africa is getting poorer and very fast. That's what the graph shows. And linked to that, we can also say or conclude that there's jobless growth in terms of the economy because of our high unemployment. And we see in terms of manufacturing, I will show you numbers in another graph, but we see for the period between 94 and 2016, for every 1% economic growth, there was only an increase of 0.06% in employment. And this actually shows one of the problems is that we don't support the local market. We have done some research as a department on technological capability. The research report is on our webpage. I will give you the webpage reference, then you can get access to the report. So what it actually shows is that it's very difficult to predict what digital technologies will be employed in manufacturing and how it will impact on jobs. So it's very difficult to predict what investment decisions manufacturers are going to make. Our general feeling in interacting with industry is at the moment that they are not interested in expanding into new technologies. But if we look at the international trends, that will come with a cost in the medium term because of competitiveness. And I think the fact that we are importing more goods is actually a sign that we are not manufacturing local. And you will see there on your left-hand side, the circled is where South Africa is. And the World Economic Forum based their calculations on indicators that I've listed there. On the right-hand side, we looked at the economic complexity of products that we are manufacturing in South Africa. And our conclusion that we made was that our economic complexity of our products is decreasing. And it actually shows that we are manufacturing goods that's not actually in demand globally. So we need to increase our complexity of our goods, and we need to be competitive. I think in terms of gender mark is a very good example of a company that stay abreast of technology and what can actually be achieved if you increase your complexity to be competitive in the global market. Just quickly a strategic overview of South Africa. I looked at the strengths, so it's not all doom and gloom. We have strengths, and I believe that we are an innovative nation. We've got a diverse culture. We've got economic infrastructure compared to the rest of the continent. Our weaknesses are quite a lot. We have structural imbalances. We have a lack of commitment in our political economy to drive programs. We have poor service delivery, poor coordination and policy coherence. In terms of opportunities, I believe that we can leapfrog into the fourth industrial revolution, but I have to qualify that because in terms of manufacturing, I think it's going to be very difficult for existing manufacturers to leapfrog. They have to introduce new production methods and digital technologies gradually because it's unaffordable to replace your whole production line. The people that can actually leapfrog is where we expand new areas in industries where we want to localize, and we have to put in new infrastructure. Then you can put in state-of-the-art infrastructure, but not everybody will be able to afford new technologies.